exciting programs here. We have human services, we have residential and vocational services, and we have a residential vocational transition program here as well. I'm not going to take up any time, and I'm not going to tell you anything about our guest speaker except this is Paul Young. Welcome, Paul. We're really looking forward to spending the next couple of hours with you. Of course, we're going to break for lunch in between the two sessions, and hopefully we'll see everybody back after lunch because Paul will have lots more to share with us and some very valuable information. So, Paul, they're all yours.
Thank you. Can you hear me like this, or would it be better if I had the mic? Can you hear me? Hello, with the mic?
Yeah.
Without? Good. And if you can't, please let me know. Okay? So meanwhile, we'll get rid of it then. We'll put it there. So I've been asked to talk to you about my life and what I've been doing for 58 years of that life. And before I asked Joan to help me here, my friend Joan McKay, with the overheads that I wanted to show you, I just wanted to tell you that a little bit about my present self before we get into the past. I am currently past chair of the Council of Canadians with Disabilities, which is an umbrella group of all types of disabilities. In fact, there's a local affiliate to the provincial organization here in Yarmouth, and it's called HOPE. Now, what HOPE actually means, we use a lot of acronyms in the consumer movement. So what HOPE actually means, I just forget. And by the nearest local organization, it's an advocacy organization, and we'll be talking about advocacy this afternoon. I'm also past chair, or was former president of People First in Canada, and I will also talk about People First a little later and again this afternoon. So as you'll hear, I worked for CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, for about 18 years, and I will explain that too. So I want you to take a look at me now. Remember what? Remember, this is the way I am now, and now I like to go back in time, as they say, and talk about what it was like for me, say, 53 years ago or so. So we're going to show you some overhead. Now, I'm from Cape Breton. And I'm from a little town, no bigger than this. Matter of fact, I think North Sydney and Yarmouth are about the same size and the same type of town. It's a waterfront town, and the ferry here goes to Maine, and the ferry in North Sydney goes to Newfoundland. And we lived, my family and I lived on the front street in North Sydney. My mother ran a convenience store. We had an apartment up over the convenience store. And this is me in about 1951, 52, I'm not sure, 53 maybe, standing in front of my mother's convenience store. Now, why I show this picture, as I often say, is not just because I look cute there, and that the old saying about you improve with age, well, that's not so. It doesn't. You do not improve with age, in my humble opinion. But there I am. And not just because I look cute there, but my mother, it obviously was a Sunday, or even Easter Sunday, that I was dressed up. And we had to be dressed up in our family on Sunday. Whether you went to church or not, you had to be dressed. But the most important reason is there that I never dressed myself. I could not dress myself when I was that age. I couldn't, in fact, dress myself completely until I was 21, when I learned how to tie my shoes. At 21, I learned how to tie my shoes. Now, the family, there were 6 of us. 5 which all had disabilities. 1 who did not. My mother, we put that one before that ran a tailor shop. And the reason I mention that is because when I was brought home, get the other one back up now, I was showing Mother in the mirror again. The reason I was in the hospital for 6 months. They gave me needles every day, and I never did very much, of course. But I was one of four other children with disabilities, and they brought me home, and my father told me the story that he told his father that he brought me home because that I wasn't going to be able to do anything, and that, you know, I wouldn't live past 4 years of age or 5 years of age, whatever the story, I can't remember exactly. But the fact is, they brought me home, nothing was going to become of me, I was going to die. And they brought me home, it would be better for me to be home, to die at home than in the hospital. And my grandfather, I guess, says to my father, away with you, he'll probably outlive us all. Well, my grandfather, who I never remember, but he was a pretty smart man, and obviously he's right. So, that was what I was supposed to do. Now, the important thing I want you to try, I'm hoping that I always try to do, is not just tell you a wonderful story, but you get to understand how I felt in those days, and how I feel today. And I couldn't dress myself. I couldn't go out and play with other children very much because I couldn't keep up to them. I would fall over a straw. I remember there was a jewelry store about 3 doors down on Commercial Street. And I used to go in there. And the man who ran the jewelry store was very nervous of having me come in there because he thought I might knock over the dishware or whatever he had on tables on the floor of the store. And he really didn't like me going into the store. And one day I did actually knock something over, and I was basically banned from the store. I was very clumsy. My father would say, don't try so hard. You're not like other children. You're handicapped. You're not going to be able to do anything. And that was it. And I, of course, never would listen to them. I took seizures until I was 11 years of age on the left side. And they used to, when I took a seizure, they would put me in bed and keep me in bed for 2 days. I went to school, Jesus, slide back to Mom. I went, my mother put me in school. I went at 5 years of age like everybody's supposed to do. Then I couldn't see the blackboard. I couldn't keep up with the copying down the writing on the blackboard. And in the wintertime after Christmas, I would hate to go out in the cold and would get very frustrated with school and then not finish the semester. I would stay home after that. Every year, the same thing. Went to a couple of private schools. Nothing would happen. Nothing ever really happened with me learning. Before we made a big move to, next overhead please. Before we made a move to the big city of Sydney, 1 year, I finally got out of grade 2 at 14 years of age. That last year of being in grade 2, they brought in a teacher. They brought in a student for a week in March or something. And she spent a week learning how the actual classroom worked because she was studying to be a teacher. And I got to meet her, I liked her. And it was a wonderful week. And I got out of grade 2 and I went into grade 3 the next semester. In grade 3, I didn't know who the school teacher was, but when I walked in the room and saw the very young woman that was in the class the year before for a week, being my school teacher, I became very excited because her and I got along very well. She had to put me in my place because I like to be able to be the center of attention and be very disruptive. And the reason I can tell you all that is because 2 years ago, I met her again. I won't go stuff about myself that I didn't know. That I always tried very hard. Well, I didn't know that, but she said that she really saw that I would want to really work. And the reason I bring that up is because that was the year I graded out of the grade 3 in 1 year. Never before or since did I do that. She spent extra time with me. People used to think I was being punished for keeping me after school. But she was really working with me on my homework and making sure I had everything written off, copied off the board. And I actually graded in 1 year, in 1959 that was, I think. And we got me a pint of what's that? Yep. All right. So then we moved to Sydney. My mother retired from running the business, and we moved to my grandfather's home that he built before he moved to North Sydney. And we actually lived in a real home. And upstairs and downstairs, and a pantry, and a backyard, and we never had that in North Sydney because it was just an apartment. So I was thrilled. So then Mother got into the debate, well, what are we going to do about your schooling? And to make a long story short again, she found somebody she knew that used to live in North Sydney and was a superintendent of schools, and she asked his advice. He recommended that I should go to the mentally handicapped class in Sydney. And I ended up there for 2 years, 2.5 years. And then they decided to start a shopping workshop. And activity center first, then they said it was a shopping workshop. I never knew the difference between either one. And then they put me in there, and we used to travel by a bus. It actually was a van, but it was about an 8-9 passenger van. And it was a yellow with a black stripe around it, but on the front, and my colleagues and people first, which I'll hear about later, won't like me saying this, but I'll briefly say it, only one. On the bus, there was a logo that represented the mentally retarded, and it had the words bus for the mentally retarded on it. This is an overhead news clipping that I found just recently in a library at the College of Cape Breton. And it's not a very good one, but I want to give you the point that, where am I? Right about up here, right here, with the glasses on. And right there. And that's in 1964, March to be exact, in 1964. And Shadow Workshop established in Sydney. And of course it gives a lot of jargon down here, and one of the words is the R word. It's rampant through the news article. And I got the news article here, so after I can read it if you want. But the jargon is just terrible. But that again affirmed that I had a disability, that I had an intellectual disability. Now, one of the things that happened over the years, going to a workshop at 9:30 in the morning, coming home at 3 in the afternoon, was that I listened to a lot of radio. And before in North Sydney, in the evenings and when I was in bed after taking a seizure, I listened to a lot of music and a lot of radio. And years ago, there used to be programs on radio like they have on TV now. You couldn't see them, but you could hear the audio, and it was sitcoms and all kinds of, stuff on radio that now is on TV. And I lived next to a movie house in North Sydney. And I would go to a lot of movies to escape from the violence. Our family was a very dysfunctional family. My father abused my mother a whole lot. And so in those days, I would escape to the movies. So I had a lot of interest in movies, TV, and radio. Next, over here. So I became very interested in radio. One of my friends, who was actually in the overhead with me, sitting by me, or near me on the other side, in the workshop setting, would like to buy records. And we'd go down to Zellers in the mall and get some records. And I met a gentleman there, and then showing you. Yeah, you go back to that after, okay? I met a gentleman, the gentleman with the tie and the glasses on, next to my left, I think it is. And met a gentleman doing remotes at the mall. Got talking to him about radio and about my favorite radio station that he, at that time, didn't work for, but had worked for. And we got into talking, and he said, you belong in radio. You have some good ideas. You need to be in radio. And so when the station went under, a doctor took it over, who I happened to be going for because I had some ears, nose, and throat doctor. And I had some problems with my nose with the weed that had gotten in the hat. So we got talking about that. He gave me a job in radio. Just before that, I had done the going down the road to Toronto trip. I had spent some time in the shelter workshop in Toronto. Asked the gentleman there whether I could ever get a job in radio, and he told me, Norman, right off the bat, absolutely emphatical about it, that I would never work in radio, but we might be able to get you a dishwashing job in 6 months. I come home to Cape Breton, and 6 months later, I walk into CHER radio as a record line runner. And then it evolved that I got a job in the CBC. I knew a technician that used to play Santa Claus at our workshop Christmas parties. He was a kinsman, and the kinsman sponsored the workshop. And I went up to visit him at CBC one night to get some tips. They were building a new radio station. And I wanted to get some tips on what an electrical library should look like. And he gave me a tour of CBC. I met another gentleman, Walter, which I'll talk about later. And I ended up getting a job at CBC. And how I got that job is that I met this Walter Purdy, and Walter asked me what I was doing at the local radio station. And he said that, he asked me how far do you want to go in radio? And I said, well, I'm learning how to record in national commercials that come in on audio tape. And they had audio tape in those days. And I would like to learn how to do that and be a help at the local radio station. He said, I'll show you that. So I went up one night when he was working night shift, and he showed me a couple of things and invited me up again. And I kept going up when he was on night shift, and he actually trained me in becoming an audio technician, an operating technician, and here I am at the controls. Not only did he show me how to do that, one day he came to me and said, look, we have a new manager here at CBC, and I want you to fill out an application form to get the job here. And I said, Walter, I'm not doing that. I don't have any education. I have no audio theory background. I have nothing like that. I'm not signing anything. So 15 minutes or so later, maybe 20 minutes, I can't remember how much time, I signed the form for an application. He talked me into that. And then he suggested I go meet the manager. I go meet the manager of the station, and he said, look, we may have something for you in 6 months' time. Come back. I did that, and Matt said, I'm really sorry. We're having a problem with wages. Can you give me another month? And I give him another month, come back, and he passed me a contract, and I had been on a disability pension. And then I started making $25 a week at Sherwood when I was at CHR Radio in Sydney. I was making $25 a week. Actually, $24.86, 14 cents for Canada pension. And I 14 cents for Canada pension. So I actually was not making very much money, obviously. So then they passed me this contract for a group trainee technician, and I would not be allowed to work on my own, that there would always be a member of the union working with me. And that wasn't to watch over what I was doing, that was because they wanted to protect their territory, and that would not want to lose their jurisdiction. So that was fine, and I worked with a lot of people, but the salary was for $11,800. And they were still apologizing for such a low wage, and I don't think I was making $4,000 a year at the end. And I triple $7,800. And I spent 18 years doing that. Now, why do I talk about that? Not just because it's money, but because it gave me another avenue, another social avenue. I had different friends than I had in the workshop, although I still had them. I had different friends in the workshop. I met different people. I met some of the people who I used to listen to radio on, and heard them on the radio. And I tried to imagine what they might look like. Well, mostly every one of them that I met live and in person didn't look like they sounded, and some were as nice as I thought they were, and some were not as nice as I thought they were. And met lots of people, and very stereotyped news people and the whole thing. I met all kinds of people. And what did this do for me? Not only did it open up social aspect, but what did it do for me? It gave me the very skills to do the one very thing that I never, ever thought I could do. And when I was 16, which was in 1960, a lot of my peers at that time, who were able-bodied, got driver's license. Well, I got my driver's license. In 1989, December the 16th, I think it was, I got my driver's license at, what age I was, 48, I can't remember, 45. I was 45 and I got my driver's license. And it's outside of my marriage, which I'll hear about in a minute. It's my greatest accomplishment. And in fact, I drove here yesterday from Sydney. And right away, it was 696 kilometers. That was those meters that you press the button and then you trip meter, whatever you call it. And that's how I learned how to drive truck. The job gave me the skills. Now, what is the job? The job was recording and dubbing news items, recording news reports, had to listen to the announcer, the news reporter, had to follow along and know when to put audio clips into his news report. I operated live shows such as Information Morning and Main Street. I had to listen to the director, had to watch the audio reference, had to watch the announcer. So my concentration developed so much that I was in the very skills that I thought I'd never be able to do, and I had left over. Now, this is myself and my girlfriend at the time, standing in front of the Alexander Randall Museum, hugging each other. And when I was in the workshop, and I met my girlfriend Marilyn in the workshop, they used to hire students or get grants to take us out on outing in the summer. The workshop went all summer long. And one afternoon we went to the Bell Museum in Badette, and someone took a picture of us. So there we are, and there I am. In those days I thought nothing more about anything than I wanted to go bowling, or I wanted to go to a hockey game, or I wanted to run home and watch TV. And for me, to stand in front of you telling my story would not be possible. I would not have believed that. That's all it is. Is that camera still on?
Yes.
Where's Debbie?
You're welcome.
And maybe something else. Women as people with disabilities who speak for themselves. And the word consumer comes from people who use services that used to be delivered by service agencies like the March Guys, like the Canadian Paraplegic Association. So the term consumer means that that's what we are. We consume services that service providers and agencies deliver. So I got involved with that. I was not overly successful. a movement of people who have intellectual disabilities speaking for themselves. And I founded a Cindy branch of People First. I founded the provincial organization with a lot of help, not just I found it, but other people helped out, including Joan. And there is a local People First group in Yarmouth. How many members do they have? 11 members of People First in Yarmouth. Joan is the advisor of that group. Each group has an advisor. So I became well known in the disability rights movement. I recently became, 2 years ago, 3 years ago now, I became chair of the Council of Canadian Disabilities, I think I said in my opening remarks. And now past president of People First of Canada, was able to get them core funding out of Human Resources Development Canada, HRDC, and became very well known to government circles in Ottawa, which needs to be the next over here. But we put the other one up first. Do you want it? Or no, that's in the other. Yep. So we get a call in late December of '97 from Toronto. People First Canada office calling saying they're looking for, no, it was early January '98. They're looking for delegates to go with the Prime Minister to receive the Roosevelt Award for a country that deals with disability issues. We all thought it was kind of funny because we think Canada doesn't do very well, but he was looking for a delegation. So they decided that they would pick 11, maybe 11 people. I forget how many were supposed to go. We ended up with 11 people to go. Well, the debate over the conference call was how this is going to go. So they all came to an agreement that they each would send in 5 nominations. Each organization would send in 5 nominations. And I was told this by the People First advisor at the time of People First of Canada that my name came up the most to go. And the reason that was because I could handle myself in crowds and with the media and so on. So I got the honor to meet Mr. Crescent on March 2nd of '98. And that was a real thrill. Meet the Prime Minister of Canada and to go to New York. I'd never been to New York. And we had a great time. And we went up there one night. Later that night, we all got a chance to go up and see the Empire State Building on the 85th floor, wherever it was. And looked around and stuff. So, for a person with cerebral palsy who was told that he was mentally handicapped and couldn't dress himself in 1952 or 53 to go to New York and be nominated to go with the Prime Minister along with 10 other people, mind you, it wasn't just me, from the disability community, was a great thrill. So that in a nutshell is my life story. Oh, yes, I forgot to go to Hague. I also, well, I've been a lot of places, not as many as I would like, but it's been a few. And I had met a woman through the Canadian Association of Communities, CACL. And that is the executive president or vice president of it. And she invited me to go to The Hague. I got a call from the People First advisor of Canada saying, would you like to go to The Hague? I said, well, first of all, what's The Hague? I had no idea what The Hague is. She said, you don't know about The Hague? No, so she explained it to me. Anyway, The Hague is where international justice is court in the Netherlands, or Holland, I don't even know which part. And I went to The Hague as a keynote speaker at the 12th Congress of Community Inclusion International, which is the World Canadian Association, is the Association sons and daughters and family members. Well, this is the international organization. So I spoke, gave a keynote address in The Hague on the 19th of August in '98. And to that, to then, up until then, that was I gave a very good address. Everybody liked it. There was approximately 2,000 people in the audience, and most of them stood up after I was finished. And what did I tell them? Well, basically, in a nutshell, I told them that people are people, and that look beyond the disability to the person, find out what are they about, and what are they interested in, and what can they do. Not what is the disability about, but what they can do. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is my story, and I'm sticking to it. I don't have any lasting words of wisdom other than we'll leave the Prime Minister up there. He's not as popular as he used to be. That's another story for Stephanie. You know, I think, Debbie, I think that we have time for questions.
Sure.
I might have finished a little early, but.
Is it okay if they ask you questions on a personal note?
Yes, my life is an open book.
Okay. So if you have any questions for Paul, you just heard it. They can be personal, they can be related to the work that he's done with People First, or with regards to...
How many know about People First? None. Not surprised at that being known. We don't do nothing. Public relations. But I'll tell you about that in a minute, but if anybody has a question, I'll take that first. How about doing me a favor? How about thinking about what I've told you this morning, and if there's anything that sticks out, or that kind of made you think, or you wonder about, then either now or this afternoon, you can ask, you can mention it to me. Okay?
I have a question. I know growing up with a disability, it must have been hard on your self-esteem and stuff like that. How did you go about becoming better with your self-esteem? How did you become to feel better about yourself growing up?
Well, my other people telling me that I had self-esteem. That when I didn't, I kind of, there's different ways I do this. This morning I decided for some reason to give you the shortened version and not describe a whole lot. But not only did Walter, who I didn't introduce to you, they had to talk me into things because I did not believe that I could do what I'm doing.
And that was because of being told.
Pardon?
That was from being told that you couldn't.
Absolutely. I mean, in my family, every day, there was this talk about how I was going to be, looked after. And everybody told me that I could not do anything. And I tell some people that I can take a person who is highly capable and put them in that environment for 2 years. And they don't have a disability walking into it, but when they come out, they will have a disability. Because it's your environment. Right? Everybody has an environment. I mean, in different things in life, when you walk into a room, this obviously environment means you have to, that you're here to study. It's set up so that Debbie and others can teach. So that creates an environment, a learning environment. So the thing that is important to me is the environment. So my environment was very negative. The announcer, Jay, said I should be in radio. I had no idea that I should be in radio. Other than my father told me about a year or 2 years before to turn off that bloody music. I won't use the word he used because he was a very bigoted and very Archie Bunker type of person. He told me to turn the radio off because it was too loud. I was going to get a job at radio. And I said, what a great idea. then I met this gentleman with the glasses on, Jay, and he said, oh, you gotta get a job in Ray, I don't care what they put in 70 garbage cans. And he did. He was right, I got a job in radio, and the thing just snowballed. It opened a whole new avenue, a whole new environment. I was actually working with very highly professional people, and realizing that I was not the only one that was insecure, because a lot of them, although they appear very, assertive and very outgoing on air, a lot of the announcers I met were absolutely jerks. Yes, egotistical, but not being able to handle people. They could do their reporting, but didn't know how to handle people. So I learned a whole new environment. The world just expanded for me. But, I mean, I took a long way of answering the question, but I don't, and even today, in a lot of elements of my life, I'm still very insecure. This I can do because I like the attention.
Paul, you said other people in your family are disabled. Do they all have cerebral palsy?
No. My brother Raymond, who I didn't show you, I have it over there, I can maybe second. My brother Raymond has cerebral palsy, but he's also visually impaired. My brother Tony, who we'll talk about this afternoon, he was in an institution for 43 years, and we'll go over that this afternoon. He has cerebral palsy, I believe. And my younger sister is visually impaired, and my older sister who passed away, she had rickets, or whatever that is, and slow learner, and she died in 95. So every one of them had a disability. It should be. It may be in the briefcase. Maybe in the briefcase. Sure. So my environment was a big deterrent. How do I get? I have a lot of ambition that I didn't even recognize when I was younger. So I'm determined.
Does being sterilized bother you?
And it does now. And it didn't then, because I believe that's absolutely right. I could never look after a child. Never. Well, I was never going to get married. What woman would want me? Right? And Madeline, to be very honest with you, Madeline sees me going away, and she worries. And she worries, obviously, oh, I'm going away, and so I know they need another woman. And I said, Madeline, that ain't gonna happen. First of all, I love you very much. Second of all, you're the only woman who thinks I'm good. And you love me, and I appreciate that. But that's the kind of attitude I have. I do not believe that baggage or that stigma is, unfortunately, although I speak to you now, deep down inside, I still have those fears. One of the things I'd like to share with you before I take another person is that you're going into a field, I believe, others do not believe it, I know Debbie does. You're going into a very important field. This field is not about caring for someone or supporting someone. In my opinion, this is about helping a person find their life. Now, some of you might be still trying to find your life. And I got news for you young people. You never, never, ever really find out who you are. Because you learn something every day about yourself that you never knew yesterday. You have to know yourself. But that's the biggest battle that I have, is knowing who I am and what I do. I guess, could definitely say that in some circles, what's the word, revere?
Close.
I intimidate people. Several people, first members who got to know me over the years, actually told me when they first met me they were scared to death of me. Others don't take me seriously. Others will still laugh at what I do. I have aunts and uncles, and particularly two aunts. One aunt in particular who will not ever talk to me because I brought my brother home, and you'll hear about Stephanie. So I live a very strange life. Someone said to me at People First of Canada, which now I'm an ambassador of, and came up with an idea that somebody like me make me an ambassador, because I've been president, I've been past president, I've been whatever in People First, I've done it. So now we're going through the whole system, and I'm over here. There's nothing to do. So they came up with the idea of being an ambassador. Well, I learned the other day that I'm not going to be able to go to the annual meeting of People First of Canada because they don't have any funds or budget for an ambassador. And they said to me, well, what about the People First of Nova Scotia? Well, the ACL, like the Association for Living in Nova Scotia. Well, first of all, I don't talk to the association, and they view me as an enemy, and they wouldn't fund it. I haven't been in the People First of Nova Scotia office in 2 years, so I'm an entity onto my own. I've created my own world because I stood up for what I believe in, which we'll hear about this afternoon. So I'm an odd duck. I can be very tough. I'm very demanding. Guess what? I'm most demanding on me. Most demanding on myself.
I know you probably wanted to save Tony for this afternoon, but that's the one with
Okay.
Raymond.
Yeah, we'll see Tony again this afternoon. But the guy with the blue tie, and you can't see it's got 50 written on his tie, is my brother Raymond. Him and I bought the house together in Maryland and got married and moved in. And he used to operate a canteen for C9B, as I said. Anyway, that's my brother. And he's got a great mind. He should have been an accountant. He knows all my book work. And looks after things for me. And does the managing of the house bank account with, of course, the computer and clicking program. But that's my brother Raymond and my brother Tony, and you'll hear about Tony this afternoon.
I'm gonna put it back with the other slides.
Yep. But it wasn't for these two gentlemen, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today. They saw something in me that I had not seen. Anybody else got a question? So I believe that you have a great job ahead of you to get into this field, as I said. Because what you're trying to do is bring people out of themselves, out of their disability, and find out who they are. Because yes, I had a disability. Yes, I couldn't read very well. Yes, I couldn't see the blackboard. But I had the ability to remember music. And someone told a friend of mine, I went to get an assessment done about 13 years ago in the Marconi campus in the city, in the college city. And they came up with a determination that I was a slow learner. So I told this to my friend Jim. And Jim said, they're wrong, Paul, because they haven't figured out how to teach you. How come I can remember every song in the top 40? How come when I listen to oldies, either in Charlottetown or in Sydney, and the first 3 bars of any song prior to 1973, I can tell you what it is before the vocalists start singing, and know when it was on the chart. And I remember, of course, being an old man, I remember exactly what I was doing and what and where I was when John Fitzgerald Kennedy was assassinated. So am I a slow learner? I don't think so. And as this afternoon, you'll hear this afternoon about this, about my advocacy work and the importance of advocacy. I think they want me to talk about. But I'll also, if I get time, share my vision of this greatest country that ever is on the face of the earth. I'm very proud of it.
Can I tell them about the first
right at the time that the country was undergoing some very serious and intense discussions vis-a-vis Quebec and the rest of Canada. And all of a sudden, this speaker, who was supposed to be up in front of how many people? There must have been 1,000 people in that room. Throws his speech away and gets into this political debate on his opinion of the country. And I was thinking of that when you said, I'll talk about my vision. Because, I mean, if Paul has anything, it's passion, right? So he has passion about his life and about the rights of people. But his passion extends to the country. His passion extends to his amazing appreciation that we have the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. And he got up on this podium in front of all these people, and the whole world of disability kind of disappeared, and we were all Canadians fighting about our Canadian issues, and I thought that was a remarkable moment.
I believe that was in Newfoundland.
It was,
And,
yeah.
and a funny story about that, the regional director of CBC came to Newfoundland because I was there because the Canadian Association of Community Living got the idea of giving out an employment award. So because, which I didn't mention in my speech about getting to CBC, the union was very instrumental in having me in the CBC. So I told that to them about my employment, but they received, the CBC received this employment award. The association gave up. And we were asked to go there to be, and it was to be presented. So Mr. Donovan, Bill Donovan, came with me. And I can't remember exactly how it went, but I remember saying, and Brian Mulroney was the Prime Minister at the time, and there was all kinds of cuts to CBC, all kinds of cuts to disability programs, and, you know, the deficit reduction, the whole jargon that we use today is so common. So everybody's talking about the deficit reduction. So I give this talk on my wife, and then all of a sudden, I don't know how it came up, I get into this stuff about the country. And I say then that Brian Mulroney will lose his job before I will lose mine. And the regional director was just wanting to crawl under a chair. CBC can't say things like that. Right? An employee of CBC shouldn't say things like that, right? And I, quite frankly, when I get a strong opinion, I don't care what people think. I say what I think. Right? And so I went on this range, and of course, my prediction came true. He lost his job before I lost mine. Unfortunately, I didn't hang on to it long enough to get a real good pension, so this is why I moved in. Anyway, as I said, a strange duck. I don't know what else to tell you, because there's more this afternoon, and more of what I guess, as Joe said, my passion. But as funny, I think Joan and Allison asked me to do something on imported tobacco sales. She didn't know what kind of can of worms she's going to open up. Well, thank you. Unless you got another question, I'm fine.
Your binder?
Huh?
Your
Oh, my
binder.
binder. I have. I've been told by the business manager, by the way, I'm going to introduce my business manager. This guy has been in my life for 30 years. This guy here, who talked me into getting into radio, and talked me into, and then we meet up at the same radio station. He talked me into getting what they call then a manpower training program and teaching me how to operate, not operate, but to program a radio station, and gets me off the disability pension, and told me to get into radio. And then when I was let go at CBC, and I was very upset about it, I walked into the YMC Enterprise Center in Grace Bay to do a business training thing, because I got the great idea, because Joan and others had said, what if I speak to you on, and you should do this. And I said, well, maybe I can make some money on it. So I set up Young and Associates business, and this guy was my business trainer. We keep meeting at key times in my life. Mr. Bedford, Jay. He's a great guy and a dear friend. He wasn't really a friend years ago. He was an acquaintance, but we were really good friends now. I have in here, if you want to see them, there's different shots of people I've been with, kind of who's who in my life type thing. And if you want to browse through it, you can. don't worry about it. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
Twelve forty-five.
12:45. Yep, so we have,
So, I never know where I go with things. I don't read very well, which I probably didn't say. But what I do with whoever's supporting me is talk about the issue and come up with keywords or points new, and then come out of about 5 or 10 points, 2.5 hours later, I have done what I'm supposed to do. But we won't do a 2.5-hour talk this afternoon, so don't worry. I have an hour or less than an hour now because we started late. So I want to get to it. And you all can hear me, can you? You know, I think it might be better if I put this on the podium, since I'm used to working with a podium. So, what is advocacy? According to the dictionary, and I don't know what type of dictionary you showed me last night, Joan.
I think it was the Oxford, but I'm not sure.
Oxford Dictionary. Advocacy is plead for, defend, recommend, and support. That is what the dictionary says advocacy is. And I'm doing very well with that word. It's probably the only word in the English language that I really can't say very well, for some reason or other. But I'm not doing too bad. So advocacy, what is advocacy? And I did that. Now the advocacy process, now I just realized by being over here, I'm not in line with what I need to see. So, talk about changing gears. There's no water on the table now, so it's good. The advocacy process, as you can see, is prepare, plan, act, and evaluate. That's the first one. And the second one is defend the issue, list the issues, identify key issues. What am I doing? And gather information from community, organizations, service, and resources, and past advocacy effects. Right? To identify supports, I guess, supporters, consumers, those affected by the issue. I won't read all of it because you can see it better than I can, obviously, and read it better than I can. But that is the process. Now, you probably know this stuff, but I bring it up because it's very important within the disability community to know the importance of advocacy. Why people with disabilities need to advocate, and there are very many ways they advocate. There is the person who advocates for, there's the person themselves that advocate for themselves. And why do they do that? Because people with disabilities are usually, well not usually, they are poor. They are probably the poorest sector of society. Not just because of money, but because of life experiences, and more particularly life experiences. Because people with disabilities, some are in institutions, or live in institutions. Well, they exist in institutions. They don't live in institutions. They don't really have a life, which we'll get into later. People with disabilities are devalued, meaning that they're seen as poor, as I said. They're seen in a sympathetic light, and they are never taken seriously. They are basically ignored. Unless, of course, you do something heroic. Like a number of years ago, the man in motion, Mr. Hanson, Mr. Rick Hanson, who was an athlete, very strong, very bright, and some women would say very good looking, was an athlete. But the media portrayed him as a hero because he was a wheelchair user, not because he was an athlete. In the disability, in the intellectual disability community, people are portrayed as very loving, very caring, very childlike. You see, people with intellectual disabilities are always seen as a child. They never grow up. And people who don't understand the disability see them as children. I'm just looking at my notes. Yeah, a second. So, let's talk about a specific issue in advocacy. The Council of Canadians, which I was chairperson of, now past chair, and the Nova Scotia League of Legal Opportunity, which is the provincial organization of that body, found out about the new ferry 2 years ago, I think, in North Sydney to Newfoundland. It was a high-speed ferry like a cat here in Yarmouth, and people discovered that it was not accessible to people with disabilities, and that the government and the Department of Transportation Agency have rules and regulations to go by. And Marine Atlantic just bought or rented this ship and put it into service, not thinking about the issue of accessibility. I and other couple of friends decided to do something about it. We put an article, a letter to the editor in the Cape Breton Post, and people wrote a response to that saying we should be very grateful for them to even have, because they're really trying their best. We exchanged another letter to the editor where we said that it was because of advocacy that we have certain things and that people have a right to advocate. Some people don't like rocking the boat. But in the world when you're disadvantaged, and I consider this, the disability community, the disability issue is probably, hopefully, the last frontier of discrimination in society, we decided to do something. Now, Joan, if you don't mind, I'd like you to read that for me, please, so they get a sense of what happened.
Okay. So, first of all, the Nova Scotia League for Equal Opportunities noted that another high-speed ferry, the Max Moles, was operating in Nova Scotia was not considered accessible. That was the second one, but the first one in Yarmouth called the CAT. I remember going on to CAT, by the way, and talking to them about not being accessible to wheelchairs because we were concerned about it here as well. But our efforts, we didn't go as far as Paul did, so we just made a statement and then didn't push it. We need to push things when you're advocating. Since the ferry Max Moles ran between Nova Scotia and Newfoundland, contact was made with Newfoundland's consumer group, COD, a local consumer group in Yarmouth, and a local consumer group, CID, in Sydney. Since ferry service is a federal responsibility, the National Consumer Group, Council of Canadians with Disabilities, was contacted and brought on board along with the local consumers. A plan was developed, so we're kind of going back to that beginning slide that Paul had on about all the things that you have to plan. It just doesn't happen. You have to do some work and you have to plan. So a plan was developed user in Yarmouth and a scooter user were asked to take a trip and take notes and pictures to verify the extent of accessibility on both ferries. The Max Moles was found to have a very steep ramp, and the buffet restaurant was on the second floor. The cat was also inaccessible, and the person with the disability had to be carried on and was dropped by the staff. His wheelchair was also broken. After the trips, a meeting was held with all the participants, and it was agreed that a letter to the editor would bring the problem into the open. As well as both persons who took the trip would file a complaint with the Canadian Transportation Agency, a letter to the editor was sent to the Cape Breton Post, Halifax Herald, and a newspaper in Newfoundland. Copies were sent with letters to the Minister of Transportation. So there's all the action that has to happen, right? In response to our complaint, Marine Atlantic arranged to set up an accessibility advisory committee with representatives from Nova Scotia and Newfoundland, people who use wheelchairs, scooters, were blind, and deaf, with top managers on their staff attending. They agreed to host 4 meetings this year. They agreed not to bring back the Max Moles, and they began renovations and improvements to the service, their ferries, and the terminal buildings right away. The committee will also get to inspect the new ferry, the Lee Barracks Centre, which will be made accessible. So that's,
And
obviously
apparently it
success
is,
stories.
it is accessible. They just had a meeting 2 weeks ago before the bath, in the ferry, and I've taken a tour of the ferry, and it is accessible. In fact, at the last meeting, a friend of mine who helped me put this presentation together gave them the idea of having a pamphlet so that people with disabilities can know what is accessible, what their service provides in a pamphlet. So when you, a wheelchair user, whatever your disability is, when you go to the Marine Atlantic, you can get this pamphlet to tell you what you may expect on the ship. So that's a new idea that they came up. But if it wasn't for the committee, probably wouldn't have happened. And we would have said, well, they're doing the best they can and left it alone. This committee would not have happened. And people would go on under their, breath, complaining by not doing anything. The other issue is that people say, well, you can't complain. Well, you should complain, but as you see here, we just didn't complain. We helped give solutions. It's fine to whine about something, but okay, what do you want? And so, in this process, we've done that. And that's one of the most important things about advocating is, okay, yes, there's something wrong, but what do you want if this is wrong? And I think we've done that. Okay, I think that's it for that.
Do you want this back on?
Just for a minute, because I want to back up a bit, because one of the things that I left this morning that fits in with this afternoon is about people's lives with intellectual disabilities. And when you are born with an intellectual disability, as you've seen in my own story, you enter what I call the cocoon of impossibility. And that cocoon has not as much today, but it has segregated classes. It has sheltered workshops that are segregated. It has, in a lot of cases, group homes that they're in the community. They're still perpetuating the myths and attitudes of towards people with intellectual disabilities. And it creates this protection or cocoon that people don't learn or bring or take their life experiences or gather in life experiences of other people. So basically, we can't learn from each other. You don't learn from me and I don't learn from you. So if I'm sitting home in Sydney, Nova Scotia, and not attending a function like this, then you're not going to hear about what I felt or what I feel. And it's not about I, it just so happens that it's me that had the life experiences. I know a lot of people who are still living in that cocoon, who have great potential, but nobody can see it because they focus on the disability and they don't get to the person. That's what I meant to say. say this morning, and I want to make sure that you heard it this afternoon. But how does that fit in with advocacy? Well, it fits in because People First, a movement which began in 1972 or 73 in Oregon and crept across North America, which People First of Canada grew out of, which is a provincial there's 10 provincial organizations of People First of Canada, and all made up of people with the history that I've described. And they advocate. One of the things that are very, very important what happened was that they were involved with the Tracy Lattimore case. Some of you may remember or be aware of it. Tracy Lattimore in 1993, I think it was, on October 23rd, if I'm not mistaken, was killed, murdered by her father. The country was all up in arms that the man did the right thing. She really was really severely disabled, and she should not have a chance to live. Obviously, she didn't. And went to the Supreme Court. So People First of Canada was very, very involved with that. Was part of the interveners, and made that process happen. I went to the Supreme Court, and finally a year ago, last January, the Supreme Court said that he should serve his regular sentence. But if people had kept their mouth shut, if People First and Council of Canadians and the Canadian Association of Community Living never spoke up, then Ms. Lattimore may have been set free.
And that would have opened the door for what else?
And that would open the door for many more supposedly euthanasia mercy killings. Because people with our disability, as I said, are not taken seriously. Their lives are controlled by other people. They do not have control of their lives. And while this is a really serious matter that you're getting into. You're not just getting into care for someone. You have the potential to control people's lives. And your job, and you are going to be advocates, your job will be to see that people are protected and looked after, but also, as I said this morning, to find out who they are. Not the disability, because they've probably been studied to death, as I was, with the thousands of, well not thousands, but lots and lots of psychologists and all that, and was told that I couldn't do anything, and you've seen the result of what their decision was. It was nowhere near what they said it would be. You have a great responsibility going into this field. I know that Debbie and others tell me that it's not valued, that it doesn't seem as a really important thing that you're going into because of budgets and funding and all that. But it's very, very critical to be able to have someone with your life experience help someone with my life experience become empowered. Because that's what it's about. Being empowered. Being able to say what you want and how you want to do it, regardless of what your disability is. Because you're not just supporting a disability. Now, I'm going to speak a little bit before I get into my main point. I speak a little bit about self-advocacy. Now, self-advocacy is important. And everybody should advocate for themselves. You all do self-advocacy. You do it at home. You do it here. You do it wherever you're advocating for yourself. But in some circles, that has taken on a new label. In the Association of Community Living, which is the parent family organization advocating for people with intellectual disabilities, and People First advocate for themselves, they've created a new label, and it's called self-advocacy. Instead of identifying their sons or daughters or brothers and sisters as a person with an intellectual disability, they now refer to them as self-advocates. It's a brand new label for us. We had the R word, we've had many labels put on us, but this, of course, is the new one. But aren't we all self-advocates? I'm advocating right now to the people who run community colleges in Nova Scotia to allow me to be part of courses that, like Debbie's, across the province. So I am now advocating for myself. But that has nothing to do with my disability other than my life experience. Okay. So there's many things I can list about self-advocacy, like I won't. And very important. Yep. I wasn't sure what my point is, but now I know. So here I am as president as chairperson of the Council on Canadians with Disabilities. And when I was starting out in the consumer movement, which I've been involved with 24 years, and the consumer movement, I think I said this morning, is people who consume the services that service providers provide. Instead of saying we're handicapped or disabled, we use consumer stuff. Some people don't like it. There's debate about it. But the people who are in the consumer movement feel more comfortable using that than they have using handicapped or disabled. So if Walter and Jay hadn't said, Paul, you can do this, and a gentleman who was in this binder, which I don't have an overhead of, Mr. Ron Canary, who took me under his wing and taught me about the rights of people with disabilities, and others such as the next overhead I'll show you, I would never have been able to meet Alexa McDonough. I met Alexa 15, 16 years ago in Toronto at a meeting of the Nova Scotia League of Equal Opportunity, and we got to meet each other, and don't get me wrong, I'm not, on the phone with her every day, but we are friends, and we see each other from time to time when the path of our paths meet. And I took it upon myself a year ago last July to call her office in Halifax, find out when she was coming to Cape Breton. They said the next day, and I asked her how she was getting there. She was coming to the airport, and I said, is there anybody picking her up? And I went out and picked her up, and Marilyn calls me in the car. I have a cell phone, hands-free one, by the way, in the car, and I entered it, and Marilyn wants to know when I'm coming home, and Alexa says, how are you doing? And Marilyn says, well, I'm not feeling well today. I have a cold. And instead of me taking her to the hotel where I was supposed to take her, Alexa says, you live far from where we are right now? I said, no. Can you take me to your house? She went in and spent 20 minutes with Marilyn, and she had a busy schedule. But I have this relationship. In fact, don't know if it'll happen, but it's an honor to be nominated. I've been nominated for an award. I guess the Queen, Jubilee is now, and each member of Parliament is allowed to nominate 20 people for service in the community. And I'm proud to say that Alexa has nominated me for that award. I may not get it with the nomination, but she thought I was worthy of that. And so that relationship, she would not have known about me if I didn't have that relationship. So that's another form of advocacy. And then in my role as chair of Council on Canadians with Disabilities, we have some issues with Human Resources Development Canada that we wanted to discuss. And to give her, Jane Stewart, the Minister of Community Services, some idea of who we are and what we do, although she says in letters that she knew about us, I brought one of the founders of the Council on Canadians with Disabilities, Mr. Jim Dirksen, with me. And we went there and discussed many issues around people with disabilities, disability supports, accessibility, and so on and so forth. And of course, jobs. And so that's another form of advocacy, but the avenues that allow a person like me to get to these people open up because of people like Walter saying, you can about what disability is, or what disability goes on. Now, one of the most important things that happened, one of the most important things that happened, because of people with disabilities, by the way, consumers, not service providers, and not the charitable people, the Rotary Club, and the Kiwanis and the Kingsmen who look after the poor and disabled. It painted us in a very bad light. It was the consumers, the Council of Canadians with Disabilities, and other groups, other disabled groups, who lobbied the federal government when they were bringing the Constitution home in 1982 to have the Charter of Rights and Freedoms in our Constitution, Section 15 of the Charter, I believe. And that was a big victory for the consumer movement and persons with disabilities. And you can read it and you can get it on the internet. It is a very important document. And that was done by the late Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau. And our current Prime Minister, and at that time he was Justice Minister, Mr. Richard. And they did that. But they wouldn't have done it if we hadn't said we wanted it. So what is it that people with disabilities want? What is it that they want? And in the People First movement, I asked that very question to people. What do you want? What do you want? What is it that you want? I do leadership training in People First, and nobody could tell me what they wanted. So in a meeting about something else, matter of fact about community inclusion, we had a project from HRDC on doing community inclusion and demonstrating what community should like. We came up with the idea. I was going to mention earlier that, along other people have dreams for the people that they represent, the civil rights movement in the States. Martin Luther King did the famous dream speech that he made in Washington in '63. And so I and others decided that we have a dream. And we have a dream that we will work and live and associate in the community. That will have jobs, that will have peace, that will have joy, that will have love, and that we can share with people and meet with people and be free, not involved in a system, that can't come to the office today. One of the People First members told me when I was working at People First and Nova Associates to sign checks because today is laundry day. Right? Not being programmed. To be free to make choices. And decide that maybe today, although it's Tuesday, I'm not going to do my laundry. I'm going to do something else. I'm going to go over to the People First office of Nova Scotia and sign some checks so people can get paid. So people that's what they want. That's what we discovered we want. We said there was something wrong, but now we discovered that this is what we want. Down below, we have people it's kind of hard, but I'm going to, for now, you say there's the cocoon of impossibility happening, and there's the barriers. And what are the barriers? The barriers are not taken seriously, being poor, being protected, being overlooked. My friend Walter says, you should meet this disabled person. He is really loved. I said, Walter, you're right. He is loved so much that he's mother. Because we're glass, we're going to fall apart. So this is what these barriers represent. To climb up the mountain. So in People First, we have these leaders, such as myself, thank God, who are supposed to come down from the mountaintop and tell people about what it is. 35 years ago in that overhead that I showed you, Shelter Workshop established, I had no idea there was a mountaintop. I had no idea that I could do what I'm doing today. So someone came down from the mountaintop, Walter and Jay, and brought me up to know that they actually can do something. So how does this fit with you? It fits with you because that's what you're going to do. You're going to be Walt. You're going to be Jay. And you're going to take a guy or a woman, a girl, and you're going to bring them up the mountain. You're going to say, the hell with your disability, who are you? And you're going to give them, help them to find themselves. I don't know what else I can tell you about the importance of others. It is very important. You know, democracy, someone told me that there's the tyranny in the majority. Meaning that, 30 years ago, Liberal parties got in and they had social programs. We had Canada Pension, we had social assistance, we got all these programs. And that was tyranny to others. And then the table turned and we have deficit reduction and we have budget cuts and we have all this stuff on the backs of people who are not taken seriously. So we have the opposite now. We have the majority, the tyranny of the majority, but the majority says we don't want people to be supported. We want money in our pockets so we can go buy more stuff from Walmart. So what prevents that? Advocacy. Advocacy is the referee of society. That's what it is. And I'm involved in advocacy and I always will be. So, I don't know without any words of wisdom to leave you, but to tell you that people with disabilities belong and deserve to have the opportunity. Someone has quoted me as saying in Sydney that everybody can be employed. I never ever said that. But they should have the opportunity to have a full life. Thank you very much.
Paul?
I forgot something, didn't I?
Yeah, I was just going to say,
Did you care to tell me what that is?
did you want to give them a couple of minutes to maybe get into smaller groups and ask themselves one question?
Yeah, that would be a good idea because we
Give
discussed.
you an example of the very specific advocacy he did to get his brother out of an institution in the valley. And then that might lead you to come up with some ideas of how you could see yourself as an advocate.
See, I got off on a tangent about government and and I do that every time.
You couldn't
But-
tell that that was your passion, by the way.
Well, I know that. But hey, some people are slow learners. So before I tell you this story, quickly I'm going to tell you another story. People First of Nova Scotia is made up of local groups. And prior to People First becoming a provincial body, we had a conference in Sydney. And this is about advocacy. And we invited our local MLA from Cape Breton East, Glace Bay to be exact, to come to this meeting. It was the community involved with disabled who were involved with the Max Mose issue, the local group. And he came and he spoke, he met me, and 3 years later I put on a leadership workshop for the Atlantic provinces of all people with intellectual disabilities. We invite him, he meets folks that were instrumental in developing People First in Canada. We gave him the lowdown on People First in Canada. He then gets elected and becomes Minister of Community Services. And he saw the light and gave us core funding for People First in Nova Scotia. So, because of his education, he learned that maybe we're giving the money to the wrong people. And he now, by the way, People First in Canada, the organization is the only provincial organization that has its own funding. The rest comes from HRDC. Now, my brother Tony, who I mentioned this morning, my brother Tony was one of 6 children. As I said, my older brother was able-bodied and died of cancer in '78. And Tony was probably the most devalued one of the whole house. He, at about 6 or 7 years of age, was put in developing a institution for people with intellectual disabilities, which just happened to be just across the yard. So he gets in there. And then move him to the mainland and move him to Waterville, where he spent some 40 years or more. And as of last December, because of my involvement with People First, because of my involvement with meeting people within community services and being on other committees, I got to meet the bureaucrats. I also learned that people shouldn't be in institutions, because before I got involved with People First, I didn't think anything wrong with institutions. So I started lobbying to get Tony to come home. Well, first of all, I decided that, well, now that I got a job in Halifax, I'm going to move closer to Halifax or move into Halifax. Well, the job didn't pan out as well as I thought, and I didn't do that. Standing came by. So then, instead of moving him to Toronto or Halifax, we decided we're going to move him back to Sydney. And nobody was doing anything. Everybody said, yes, I know, we're talking over the phone, yes, we did this and this and this. I met with Peter Christie on another matter, and I think I might have even mentioned it to him. And then 2 years ago, it was, Joan and I got the idea we should write a letter to the minister, explain the situation, and CC it to People First Nova Scotia. And I think about a month after I sent the letter, I get a phone call from a woman in Waterford saying that she is opening a small auction home and has a space for Tony. So Tony came home on December the 23rd, last Christmas, and we spent Christmas morning together for the first time in 43 years. Tony had never been to a grocery store. Tony went to a grocery store. Tony has gone to the Cobo, which is the basketball tournament in the Waterfront. Tony just recently, about a month ago, went to the community involvement with dance, social, which, by the way, myself and Mr. Canary started 20 years ago, 25 years ago. And he had a ball at the dance. He loves music. He loves to get up and dance. He's a wheelchair user, as you can see, but he just loves to be moving around and loves music. We're learning all kinds of things about Tony that we never knew before. Because when I learned how to drive a car, one of the first things I did on the long distance was go to Waterville and go and visit him. And after being involved with the People First movement and walking into that place, although it looked very clean and well decorated, they unlocked the door with a key. I was invited in to the unit and locked the door again. And I was talking to the people in the unit, holding a bag of cheeses in my hand, not paying attention to Tony, and Tony grabs my arm and give me more cheeses. He's non-verbal. So I said, then, not and then, he needed attention. He needed more one-on-one attention than he was getting there, plus it was an institution. So, I'm very proud that he's home. I'm very happy. One little quick story is that on Labor Day, we invited him in for lunch. We've gone out to lunch for him at restaurants, and we've gone to places with him. But I invited him in to lunch on Labor Day, and I had a new deck put on a year ago, and a real good accessible ramp. I knew someday he would be home. And he came in, he got up with his wheelchair, and he put a blanket on the deck of the patio, and he laid down, and we both fell asleep. So we're just two brothers just hanging out in the sun. And I'm very proud and it's very wonderful that Tony is now free and doing the stuff that he did. That was my presentation. Now, back to you. You and I want them to...
We want them to think about, and maybe just... Thank you. You've been a great audience.
Oh, stop. And on that note, yeah.
Oh, no, that's a crime in itself.
Tell me.
Something like me, you don't know what they're doing.
Right here.
You didn't know what they were doing.
Thank you.